Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
When I turn it on, I can't turn it off.
They keep passing the baton to the next character, and you see each one lose their mind over this thing. I think it's low-key one of Fincher's best, if not his best. It seems to go still underappreciated.
That's probably the creepiest part of the whole film, because it was no, that's my handwriting. Yeah. Come down to my basement. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, don't go down there. You're yelling at the screen.
Yeah.
Why would you go in there? You know this dude is shady. That's good life advice for anyone, I think.
If you're looking for a killer, don't
go in the basement.
I can understand why people wouldn't like it, but if they don't like it, they're crazy.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today I'm joined by Jonathan.
Hello.
Phil.
Hello.
Helen.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the David Fincher classic, Zodiac.
Thank you as always to the mighty people for the mighty tunes, and thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
at FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher. Hello film fans, welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Joining us today we have Jonathan and Phil. If you would like to say hello and tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Jonathan Foster. I work at the Prince Charles Cinema, so that's kind of the reason why we're here, I guess. Yeah, myself and Phil. Phil, you go ahead and say hi as well. We'll do it back and forth. It'll be like ping pong. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that won't be confusing at all.
Go.
Yeah. Hi.
Go.
Hi, I'm Phil. I also work at the Prince Charles, or I did before, the world stopped turning.
Before the end of days.
Before the end of days, yeah. We should have talked about that movie.
Well, it was your choice. You chose the film.
It's not on Netflix. God damn it. Yeah, I'm Phil. I work at the Prince Charles. I'm a stage manager there. I'm also a co-host of the Pod Charles Cinecas with Jonathan, and we've been doing that for the last year, and it turned into quite a weird little adventure we're doing over there.
Why is it an adventure, and why did it take so long for you guys to get a podcast off the ground?
Well, I mean, we've been doing it for almost 2 years now, so it's not, we've been out there, we've been hustling, but I don't know. Yeah, so I started the cinema around 2014, started from the bottom as a usher, selling tickets, flipping that popcorn into the buckets, and popping the beer, but
cleaning up spoons.
Yeah, spoons. Oh
Spoons.
God. Oh God.
Helen, you don't know about the spoons, do you?
I do know about it. I'm not into the room, but I know about the spoons.
Hey, pay the bills, man. They pay the bills. Those spoons. So I've been at the cinema since 2014. I worked my way up into the design office, helping out in social media and marketing and stuff, and that's where one day I was just talking about hey, how can we make the cinema a little bit more interesting with letting our it's one of the things we always know about people coming to the cinema is how much they like our staff, Like, that's one thing I see a lot when we see reviews and all that, or social media comments. So I was like, how can we open up the world to the staff and also talk about the great program we have here and talk about films and all that? So that was kind of the original idea of the Pod Charles Cinecas. And started that a couple of years ago now. And originally it kind of started, we were like talking about films that were on the program, but also every episode would have a different staff member on or a special guest to talk about a film that was playing in that week. But now we live in weird times, and Phil and I have just lost our minds, and we just got really meta with everything.
It's been a gradual process.
What better to document that by doing a podcast?
By recording it every week, it's great.
Yeah.
You can chart it.
You can chart our insanity. I think we're coming on the other end now,
It's coming back up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we've got some silly ideas where we can take it even further. But yeah, we just got really meta with it. I don't know, like, where we just decided, like, saying we couldn't have people on all the time just because, it's harder with, you guys would know, you have people on your podcast all the time, but when people don't have the best mic or headphones or whatever it is, it could be really difficult to record. So Phil and I, we just like started getting really creative with the episodes where we became the movie. Like, we were in the film and we talked about it. And yeah, it's been fun.
It'd be good to just talk a minute about Prince Charles, because I don't think everyone knows what the cinema is and why it's so special to certainly to London, but I've not come across another cinema that does the same thing that you guys do. And just to kind of level set, you guys are like slap bang in the middle of the West End of London, yet your prices aren't £20 a ticket, and that's not the only reason that people love you guys.
Yeah. It's wild. It's weird. Like, it's weird being in the heart of the West End, where all the big cinemas are around, all the places that have the big premieres and stuff are around, but like, we're kind of tucked around the corner, and in a way almost sort of like a dirty little secret, which is kind of fun, because obviously, like, I feel like our reputation is almost like the films we play, like, which is like, depending on what eyes you have, like what you're looking for, you're gonna like see us in so many different ways. And that's almost like, depending on what eyes you have for what kind of films you want to see, like, that's what's going to be there at the cinema. So if you think we're like this place that that's like really classic and just like a great movie, that's Kino, baby. Like,
Kino.
you're gonna find, like, Citizen Kane playing. But if you like think we're just this dingy little place that plays goofy films and stuff, well, we've got The Room playing. So it's like, that's our
we
reputation.
got something for everything. Something for everyone. So.
Yeah. What's really cool about your cinema is, it's, even though I've seen many of these films beforehand, Prince Charles is the first time I've seen like the Gremlins on a big screen, Die Hard on a big screen. It's these kind of things which are just like absolutely delightful about what you guys do. And it's and when we talk, Helen and I talk about it, and our guests talk about Prince Charles as a level set sometimes, and often the big question is, if you were going past the Prince Charles and the film of the day was on and you had 2 hours to kill, would you go in? And that's a big kind of,
we kind of like,
we ask.
Yeah, we've used it slightly, the small screen score question's gone the other way, in that suitable for a small screen, or actually not suitable for the Prince Charles. So we've incorporated that into our scoring over the years. Yeah,
well, we can incorporate into that into scoring later if you want.
Absolutely, let's do it. Well, we're talking today about Zodiac, and that was, whose choice was Zodiac?
This was mine, Jonathan's.
So, Jonathan, can you tell us why you chose Zodiac, and also a synopsis, if you can do, well, you have to, within 60 seconds or less.
Synopsis in 60 seconds. All right. Yeah, Zodiac. We're talking about it's the true story of the investigation of the Zodiac Killer, who may or may not be Helen, according to her Squadcast name. That's a part of the official synopsis. Look it up on IMDb. It's a serial killer. He's still unknown to this day. He's a real guy or girl or whoever. And, he's unknown. No one knows who did it. And he terrified San Francisco Bay in the late 60s and the 70s. And he taunted police with ciphers and letters. And, the case becomes an obsession for 3 men. One's a cartoonist. It's Robert Graysmith. He's played by Mysterio. You got
Bubble Boy.
reporter Paul Avery, played by Iron Man. And then you got police inspector Dave Toschi, or I don't know. I can't figure that out. Played by the Incredible Hulk. And then,
so what you're saying is there's a Marvel connection here is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Like, it's really deep, guys. It's deeper than the Zodiac Killer itself. Sorry, this is going way over 60 seconds. And we see how their lives and careers are built and destroyed because of this crazy, crazy case.
Why did you choose this Marvel precursor as the film for today?
Well, because I think like the Tesseract was somewhere deep in this film, and if they would have looked hard enough underneath like one of those letters that the Zodiac had left, it was there in plain sight. No, I picked it because it's somehow wasn't picked yet because you guys have a pretty insane list so far.
Yeah.
And
coming up to 200 episodes or more, depending when you guys hear this, listeners hear this episode.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm here to give you guys props now. But yeah, no, I've not seen this on your list, and I was surprised by that for one, and two, I think everything else got taken. No, it's also I really like this film. This film rules. It's a good. I mean, I'm a white girl at heart, so my true crime passions come to light when I see Zodiac on the screen.
So, a question for Phil and Helen: What are your thoughts on Zodiac and David Fincher in general?
Well, I'm Fincher's bitch. I love David Fincher. I will watch anything. In fact, I think I've seen all his films now. And I really, really like Zodiac. I think I saw it at the cinema. I'm like 99.9% sure I saw it at the cinema.
I think Fincher's our most recurring director. And that's not saying much, but we've had Seven on here, and we've also had
the
Social Network.
Yeah. I really like this film. I also really like that it slightly irritates people in that they don't get the closure they want in sort of knowing who done it and that satisfaction of having that endings. And it's kind of like two films. Kind of the first part is that kind of serial killer thing, and then the second part's about like the obsession. So I really, really like this, but I'll raise you that it's actually got 5 ER cast members in. So it's got more superheroes than ER. So you've got Mark Green, Anthony Edwards, and then the editor played one of the characters in the earlier.
Which editor? Sorry, the editor of the Chronicle.
Of the Chronicle, yeah. What's his name? Charles Terry. And then Donal Logue was in it as well. He was Susan's boyfriend for a while. And Clea Duvall had a bit part, and so did Adam Goldberg. So maybe ER did it.
I always feel Adam Goldberg had a bigger part than he did, but he has like 2 lines. And he's one of those characters, he's one of those people I always like seeing him in a film or a show because he's always a bit like bigger than the thing he's in, but then
maybe he didn't the original script, which from all accounts was much, much longer than it appeared, and was pretty huge to begin with, and was still pretty huge, and was kind of gotten around by the fact that David Fincher decided he'd make his actors speak faster to not have to trim down the script. So faster. Maybe he was a bigger part in this much bigger script, which maybe we'll get to learn more of one day.
What about yourself, Phil?
I hate this movie. I hate it with a passion. No, I mean, it's great. I'm also a fan of Fincher. I think it's hard not to be. He's one of those, every time I see a Fincher movie, I forget how good Fincher is, and it's like frustrating. I think, like Helen, I've seen pretty much everything. I haven't seen Mank yet. I don't know what the consensus is on that yet. But this was good. This is a great movie. I mean, we liked it so much we did it. I think we did it sometime last year. We did like a little review of it on the Pod Charles Cinecas, and that just made me appreciate it even more. But it's great, yeah. Like you said, a whodunit where you don't get to find out who done it, and that's immensely satisfying in the other way. And I love this sort of relay race of a movie, this 3-part thing that it keeps passing the baton to the next character, and you see each one lose their mind over this thing, and people still lose their mind over it. You know, people still think he's out there. I mean, Ted Cruz, you know, the prime suspect, could be the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
But it's great. I think it's low-key one of Fincher's best, if not his best. It seems to go. Still, I think, underappreciated.
It's the best.
It's the best, is it?
It's the best.
Okay. According to Bong Joon-ho, he says it's his masterpiece.
He's right.
So, yeah.
He's right.
That's interesting. I think one of the things that always kind of strikes me about, and I've recently watched The Night Stalker, which is a documentary series set in California as well, that's on Netflix.
Yeah. And
one of the things that strikes me about the Zodiac and Night Stalker is the distance these guys travel is huge. So when you typically have a serial killer, they tend to stick in like a local area, like Yorkshire Ripper, for example, is like Yorkshire and a bit of East and West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire. Not that big an area. Went into Lancashire, Manchester a bit, but California is like twice the size of the UK, and
give or take.
There's that one line where Chloë Sevigny was saying you go to Sacramento, that's 2 hours away, and that's literally like the length of the UK to get to a town to then come back in the same day. So it's actually a really big deal. I guess he killed 7 people, maybe more, that's been uncharted, but he's covering a large range, and that's something that comes across in the film where they've got Mulroney, played by Casey Jones, Elias Koteas, and you got the other detective, but also you have then the Hulk, and those jurisdictions are so far apart. They're all kind of working in this case, but also they're holding things back from each other. When you kind of just think, guys, share the wealth.
Come on, man. It's America.
It always irritates me about America.
It's the beauty of
trying
America.
You're trying to catch the person. Share it.
Yeah.
Where's your accent from, Jonathan?
Well, my accent's not where I'm from. I'm just got like a really kind of normal American accent, but I'm from Virginia, so sort of the gateway to the South. But yeah, it's, you raise a good point. There's a couple of things there with like, I think the interesting thing about like serial killers and all that sort of stuff is that like, especially from this time period, this is kind of like the early, I don't know, like just the starting point of it all. And like all the serial killers that really start to make the news and stuff. And Zodiac became such a big thing because of the ciphers and all that. And you had all the killings and stuff. And I don't know, it can get so muddled with the Zodiac Killer. Like there's 2 ways to look at it. Yes, in America, it's very big, and traveling that big of a distance or whatever seems kind of crazy to be hunting in such a wide range. Like, but a lot of serial killers have done that. But then also, like, that's pretty, I think as an American, I don't think about like a long drive, like the way people here in Britain do. Like driving 2 hours or whatever out of my way is like, you sometimes just do that. Like, because there'll be like no big cities really close by. So you have to drive like 2.5 hours to get to a city that has like something you actually need. And, like a fresh body to kill, and then if you look at it on the other end, like I said, we're starting from, it's the boom, if you will. And that's a horrible term to use for people who are going around killing people, but it was the boom of serial killing. And, where, I guess like, not technology, but knowledge of this was becoming a bigger, and people were studying more and learning more and doing a lot more psychology into serial killing and kind of figuring it out. And then you have like people seeing, it became such a big story. It was all over the news, and it was every paper in the area were flagging up these like ciphers and stuff, and you start to think, oh well, maybe these people are just like copycats or something, like there's some copycat killers out there who are killing someone, and then there maybe the original guy who's doing the ciphers just is sending in a letter saying, oh, that was me, taking credit for it, even though like he might not have done it. I don't know. That's the weird thing about Zodiac, and I think that's what makes this film so interesting, is if like Fincher just like went out of his way to like go crazy into detail and like just really, really studied the case and just really went into depth. And he just went into like the time. He just went back in time. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I think like Fincher was like pretty close to the case as well. I know he was like supposed to have done like a Black Dahlia murder film, but then our boy Brian De Palma ended up doing it. And then,
Disney had the rights to this originally. And
it felt like a Disney movie.
Came out of their hands, and
not that I don't like Disney. I was just thinking a Disney film
would have been a bit strange.
Yeah, it would have been.
And I can't remember the name of the script writer. I should have written that down. But yeah, they kind of snapped it up, and yeah, there's just so much detail, and you know, he only decided to use to include the murders that they could identify as definitely being the Zodiac, because there were a couple of others not in the movie. And just sort of researching kind of everything about the locations, you know, you kind of like can see why he was attracted to the obsession in this when you learn more about kind of like David Fincher, because like him and Robert Downey Jr. clashed a bit on set because he didn't really understand his needs for like 200 takes of like someone walking in the room and stuff. And you're like, I can see now why Fincher's attracted to the story.
Was this before? When did this come out? Was this before
2007?
Okay, so this is before Robert Downey Jr. had been kind of
the resurgence
led back into the fold of Hollywood.
Just before his big comeback.
Lagging a bit.
I was just looking at Fincher's filmography before we go on. He's kind of varied, but also his films have a distinct kind of Fincher style. So Alien 3, 7, The Game, Panic Room, Zodiac, Girl with the Dragon Tattoos, Social Network, dark. Gone Girl, Mank. There's a vibe, but they also have their own kind of individuality to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, super dark. I'd say there's a darkness to them all the way through, isn't there?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Mank? And where does that rank? That's the latest one that went straight to Netflix.
Yeah, so I saw it. I watched it last night, I think. Did I watch it last night? No. The other night. I watched it recently. I mean, I went into it thinking this kind of, if it hadn't been directed by David Fincher, I wouldn't have watched it.
Had you seen Citizen Kane beforehand? Or were you interested in Citizen Kane beforehand?
So I watched Citizen Kane quite recently because we had a conversation about whether I needed to watch it with we're on a film WhatsApp group with our film quiz team members, and I received some slack for having not watched Citizen Kane and should not have been questioning whether I needed to see it to watch Mank and should rectify it immediately, which I did. And I don't know, I kind of feel as though I get it, but it's not my thing. And
Citizen Kane, you mean?
I mean, obviously for its time it was amazing and shaped the way for cinema ever since. But it's not my favourite film, and I'm glad my feelings are with Mank. I'm glad I've watched it. I'm not going to watch it again. I mean, I was thinking about, because obviously like Fight Club's probably my favourite David Fincher, and then maybe even this could be my second favourite now.
Mm-hmm. Zodiac.
Yeah, because I actually watched it over Christmas because I hadn't seen it in so long as like a little treat, and then when you chose it, I thought, well, I could probably get away with not rewatching it because I've seen it so recently. But then I thought, well, actually, I'd quite like to, go back in there and have another go on it, even though it's probably only been like a month and a bit. So Mank is at the bottom, Zodiac near the top.
I've still not seen Mank yet. We had it at the cinema, but I've still not. I wanted to see it at the cinema if possible, and we kind of like got shut down like 2 weeks after we reopened, and we had Mank on, and it was great. It seemed like people were enjoying it, but I don't know. I'll wait. I sometimes don't see new films until like months and months and months later. I like it old school. You know how you used to wait?
Does it though, isn't it? That's how you guys work.
Yeah,
you've joined the perfect cinema for yourselves.
I like to let it like fester for a bit,
I was just going to say kind of any bits with Mark Ruffalo and Anthony Edwards in it, because the reason that Anthony Edwards was cast is because Fincher basically said that he was to carry the movie, that he wanted someone who you could kind of like trust in and believe in, and their kind of like relationship that they have, you kind of want them to win. Like they are like the good guys. They're like, you really, really want them to get there and win. And in the end, that when they kind of like split up, you lose that little bit. And I think that's when the kind of mood shifts for me.
Yeah, I feel like it has a really nice wave of it. Like you start off strong, kind of like just getting in, kind of in the middle of the killing starting, and like just you don't even really learn much about the background of who the characters are that you're following throughout the film. You just pick up where they're at in that certain point of their lives when they just are learning about the case and are really involved, more so through the eyes of like Robert Graysmith. But I feel like each act almost kind of takes you through each character, so it's like a story of the three men.
Right.
I'm partial to the last third of it. I really enjoy watching Iron Man, the Hulk run around, but I'm a Jake Gyllenhaal boy. There's something to him. Because he starts off maybe perhaps the most innocent, and watching his sort of slow descent into madness is endlessly rewatchable. And I'm seeing how it affects his personal life. You get that more than the other ones. I mean, the others fall into like quite dire straits, addictions and so forth. But you see him, how much it strains his relationship with Chloë Sevigny, and he's the one who gets closest to it, closest to finding out who it is, if it is one person. There's something to that bit. Those are the moments I remember. For such a dark and intense movie, I find it's almost like a comfort movie, which is a weird thing to say about Zodiac, or any Fincher movie. But yeah, I could always watch it. I've seen it more times than it's probably healthy.
I think Gyllenhaal's always an interesting actor for me, and this is one where he's he tends to go full into it. Super crazy in Okja. I think we've had him quite a few times as well. We've had him on
Prisoners,
Okja, Prisoners, and Nightcrawler episodes.
Nightcrawler, yeah,
that's great.
And each time he doesn't hold back. And this is obviously his character's reserved here, but you can see the acting he's doing.
Yeah,
acting his little chops off, isn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like he's really vulnerable in this film. Like he just really like, I don't know, like Phil said, you could just see how much he just gets engrossed in it. I think that's one of the best parts of it. Like, I think I was saying that like, it's like, I love the 3 acts of it. And I love all the different characters and where they're going and stuff. But like the way his character in particular, like, he gets so involved, and it's like, you have the whole thing of like, the greatest game is like what the Zodiac is obsessed with and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, in turn, finding the Zodiac is the greatest game for all 3 of these guys, but particularly for Robert Graysmith's character. Like he's just so immersed into it, and he loses his mind almost to it, and he like starts accusing people who may not even be like the Zodiac Killer, because he's so, and that's that scene where he goes into that basement of that man's house, and he's just like looking. It's so terrifying. But I don't even think that guy is a real character in the case. I think that's something that, Fincher added in a little bit of an embellishment. But like, it's just like really insane how like just far he's gone and stuff. And that scene, I feel like sort of encompasses how far he's gone. And then it's just like, dude, this is too far. Like, this is too far.
I got to get out of here.
Yeah. That was probably the creepiest part of the whole film, because it was like, no, that's my handwriting. Yeah. Come down to my basement. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, don't go down there. You're like yelling at the screen.
Yeah,
and Fincher, it's like a thing Fincher gets off on. If you've seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, there's a very similar scene in that movie where someone is, invited in, and you're like, why? Why would you go in there? This dude is shady, even if you're not sure for certain he's the killer. The only reason you're interested in him is because you're looking for a killer. So maybe don't go down any dark basement.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good life advice for anyone, I think.
If you're looking for a killer, don't go downstairs with any strange person.
Yeah. But if you're looking for candy, definitely go.
Oh, yeah. That's where they keep the best candy.
Is there anything else you guys want to say before we head to the scores?
Well, there's 2 great things about Zodiac that's better than the film and the case and everything. It's the fact that, one, Jennifer Aniston is responsible for like helping get Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo cast in this film. So casting director Jennifer Aniston, and 2, the greatest Bubble Boy reunion ever with Jake Gyllenhaal and John Carroll Lynch, father and son. Let's do it, Bubble Boy.
We're here to talk about Bubble Boy.
Not enough people do talk about that film. It's a great.
I agree.
Film.
It is a great.
If you guys want to hear that, go to Pod Charles Cinecas. We got a great Bubble Boy episode. It's really dumb.
You've heard it first here, guys. Go to Pod Charles Cinecast. Bubble Boy.
Yeah.
For all your Bubble Boy need.
Okay, guys, let's head to the scores.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have come from the worlds of film, television, music, food, comedy, and podcasting. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scoring system. All of our scores are out of 5. You may have decimal places if you wish, and we will start with you, please, Jonathan, with your recommendability.
Yeah, I would say this is like gotta be a 5 for me. It's a bit of a brutal watch, but I mean, like, it could be a bit tough and scary and just like, but it's really gripping, and I just think like I feel like you can recommend, and whoever's watching it should, in theory, have a good time watching it.
Phil.
I'll duck it a point because of what you just said. I think people may not enjoy it. I think it's a hard one to recommend because you need, if you're squeamish, it's not going to be the best time. Or if you don't like long, somewhat dull movies, but where you don't really get any answers. I can understand why people wouldn't like it, but if they don't like it, they're crazy. 4.5.
Helen.
I'm going to join Phil in the 4.5 club. I love it. I think it is amazing, and I would be really keen to see the 3 hours and 8 minute cut, which apparently was the first cut, just out of curiosity. But I know a couple of people who've watched it and they're like, it's really boring. I don't like it. And it is pretty violent. Like, the violence is quite intense. There's not much of it, but the violence that is in there is quite intense.
Yeah, it starts off quite steep with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like the stabbing scene as well is pretty intense, and it's kind of long as well. But yeah, I love it. 4.5, but it's definitely not for everyone.
I'm going to go 4.1 here. I think a lot of people will have issues with when I recommend films. Donnie Darko, something like this that doesn't have a clear resolution. People whine at me. So,
but you don't need those kind of people in your life,
But this is real as well. That's the thing. That's like, Donnie Darko. It's like,
Donnie Darko's real.
Don't get me started on Donnie.
Jonathan's a huge Richard Kelly fan.
I actually like Donnie Darko. I just think Richard Kelly's he's a hack.
well,
hot takes.
I think some people are just they will complain if I recommend this to them. And also, I do think it's a bit long and also I can see it being labelled as slow as well. So, but I think people who are interested in kind of drawn out narrative and not procedural, the research is interesting to see both journalists and detectives poring over this case. Yeah. Even though Graysmith wasn't a journalist, it's kind of interesting seeing that side, the two sides of the coin, following a case and kind of delving into it. Repeat viewing score, Jonathan.
I'll give this a 4.5, but I'll kind of tackle on the back of what you're saying about it being a bit slow or long and stuff. It is a bit long. It's like 2.5 hours or so, like the version that's widely out there. But I feel like it goes really fast, to be honest. Like I feel like I'm pretty engrossed in this film, and I feel like it just goes really smoothly through, and I'm really engaging like what's going on. And there's another score for that later, so I'll shut up about that part. But it's like I feel like I can watch this film, and it's one of those films. I have a few that like I was just like, if I see it, I'm like, I'm kind of like scrolling through Netflix and I see it, I'm like, I can almost watch that right now, and that's I think that's the definition of repeat viewing.
I think similar. I mean, I just said that it's morbidly rewatchable. I won't stick it out, but if it's on TV, I'll leave it on for a bit. I think it's one of those that gives you something new every time you watch it because it's so detailed and it's such a faithful recreation of a time. And it's fun to try and figure it out. So I'll go a little bit higher, maybe I'm enjoying the decimal point. So let's 4.8.
4.8. Helen.
Yeah, so I was trying to think how many times I've seen it. I've seen it more times in the past month than I probably have in the past 10 years. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 4. I've really enjoyed rewatching it very recently, and it does give you lots to re-enjoy, and there's just so much detail in it. And like you were saying, it's a really great period piece as well, if you're kind of into that. And I hadn't realised that the Mark Ruffalo character was the basis for obviously the Dirty Harry film, and who Bullitt was based on as well, which I picked up on watching it again recently. So there's just so much kind of pop culture within it as well that it's really fascinating if you've got the time to revisit it.
Yeah, I'll definitely dig deep into that because I did wonder how close the Zodiac Scorpio thing was for Dirty Harry versus this. What's your score, Helen?
4, please.
4. I'm going to go for 3.2 here. I watched it quite recently for the first time, I should say, maybe 4-6 months ago. And when this similar kind of dilemma to Helen, I was like, can I get away with not watching it again? And I just had to. I'm glad I did, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to remember a lot of the things that happened. But I don't think I'm going to watch it that often. And I think before I watch it, I definitely want to see a documentary about everything that happened in this, especially because there's no resolution. I'd like to see how those pieces did fall together, compare it and contrast. So yeah, 3.5. Small screen score. Jonathan.
I'll dock a full point off of a perfect score. I'll give it a 4. I'm not that big of a stickler. I work at a cinema, but I'm not that big of a stickler for cinema screen versus TVs and stuff. I mean, I don't do the smartphone thing, but yeah, it's if you have a nice sized TV at your house, you're gonna enjoy this film. And to be honest, how long it is, maybe it's kind of a nice film to watch at home because you can pause it and go to the toilet, get some water, whatever. So
I kind of do think this would be quite easy to stop at sections, like people with The Irishman. You can maybe stop after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Come back the next day, carry on the next 20 minutes.
Turn into a mini-series.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a cop-out, though. If you want a mini-series, go watch Mindhunter.
Which is outstanding.
And it's great. I love it. And this is if you like Mindhunter, this film, is the precursor. It's like the pilot for Mindhunter in a way. David Fincher must have just been here, you see this film, give me money, please. And Netflix is yes, okay. So
okay, we get it. You like serial killers. Go ahead.
I forgot about Mindhunter's Fincher joint, and that's actually probably my favourite Fincher, thinking about it. Maybe 7 on Mindhunters. Phil, what's your small screen score?
I think I'm more of a stickler than Jonathan about the big screen thing. I think if I can see something on the big screen, I will. I think it's just better. But for this one, because it's quite intimate and scary, for lack of a better term. It does kind of work watching it at home on TV with the lights turned down. Don't watch it on the phone. I can't imagine watching a movie on the phone. I think I see people on the tube doing it, and I think they
kick it out of
freak
your
me
hands,
out.
don't you?
Yeah, it's just like, can you not just make it home? You're not even watching it with the sound on. What the hell? So I think it might even be better on the small screen then. So screw it, 5. I don't know. I want to throw a 5 in there just to mess up the algorithm.
No, it doesn't mess up. It doesn't mess up the algorithm. That's what spreadsheets are for.
That's what Excel was made for.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I saw it at the cinema. I can visualize the cinema ticket in my head. I enjoyed seeing it at the cinema. I've obviously since not seen it at the cinema. I was thinking I'd quite like to see it as a double bill with Spike Lee's The Summer of Sam. I think that would be a good evening.
That's a great movie.
That sounds like something that Prince Charles Cinema would do. Do you guys know anyone who works there?
Jonathan's writing it down now.
that would be
I don't know
my good
if
one.
I could convince them to play Summer Sam, but I love Summer Sam, but I don't know if it'll go down well, because it's a funny one, but so nice. It would be a great for me, and I'm with you, Helen. Great double bill.
So what's your small screen score, Helen?
I kind of agree with pretty much everything you both said. What did you guys give it? 5?
I give it 5.
I give it 4.
4.5.
I'm going to go for 5. I don't really care about seeing this in cinema. I think it works quite nicely at home with the lights down, as Phil said. So I don't think the soundtrack I thought was a bit jarring. Sometimes the needle drops I thought were a bit weird.
I've had the hurdy-gurdy man in my head for
what's the hurdy-gurdy man?
The Donovan song. I got it out my head from watching it over Christmas, and then rewatched this, and now it's in my head, and I can just hear it all the time.
We should all pile on Kobe right now, because I do want to say that the soundtrack is like, and you go back to like it being a time, like something from the time. It's a great soundtrack from that era, and we talked about this when we were talking about this film on our podcast, about how you have so many films that are like from this era that just keep doing the same stupid Forrest Gump soundtrack over and over, and this film like has something completely different, and it's awesome. You got like Santana and Donovan. It's great. I
think it's a way that they seem to just drop it for like full volume sometimes into the scene where I just didn't think it needed that, and it took me out of the. It's like, what's going on here? Whereas the rest of it was quite somber or understated.
Yeah,
I think so. It wasn't necessarily the sound. It wasn't the song choice specifically. It was more the fact that just the volume just slammed it in there. Slammed it right in there.
Trying to beat you over the head. This is a weird story, brother. This is gonna be strange. You're not gonna feel good about it because it's gonna be weird afterwards. They didn't catch this guy? No.
Good luck sleeping.
Fincher's got a good relationship. It's him that works a lot with Atticus Ross and
Trent Reznor.
And I really love the Seven soundtrack, and I really love the Social Network one. So I think perhaps I'm just a bit more disappointed because he had
David Shire on this one, and that was like because he really was into all the President's Men, and that was sort of the idea he wanted to do for this, was tell it like All the President's Men, which he does really. It fits that mold. And he, I think, used the actual music from All the President's Men, like when they were editing, and David Shire just came in and actually just did a score for it, which was pretty entertaining. But they did a weird thing where they used like, based on the 12 signs of the Zodiac, and like there's different pieces that kind of go along with each of the signs, and that's why some of the music's just so weird, and it's just like really strange, and it kind of goes into like the moods of the characters and stuff, and everyone has a theme, which I think is pretty entertaining.
So 5 for me. Yeah, engagement score.
I have 5. Like I said earlier, it's one of these films where I'm really just like, when I turn it on, I just like get really lost in it. I think, like, you know, I joked earlier at the top about being a white girl at heart, you know, but like I really like true crime. I love the Zodiac case. I think I like it more because it's unsolved, and it's like one of those things you want to know more, and you want to like you're just. It wasn't me. Did I do it? Yeah, like I really, I love this film. I think it's something that when I turn it on, I can't like turn it off. So it's good.
So 5. Phil?
I think I'll go with John. I think I'll give it a 5 as well, just because it is sort of haunting. I'll throw it on and I have to keep watching it. It's sort of seeps into your bones a little bit, and you try and figure it out even though you know the outcome. And yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be a true crime fan. There's so much of it out there, and this is just a really good example of it. It's just because it's not, I don't feel like it's exploitative in any way. It doesn't sort of digress too much with the actual killing. It's the actual bare bones consequences on the people trying to take it down, and then just something, I don't know, really really watchable about 3 men slowly losing their mind in 70s California. I wish every movie would like that. No, 5.
Helen?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 as well. There's just something about kind of the sensitivity to the tellings of the murders, and which is quite rare for films in this genre, where it tends to be kind of like as shocking and exploitative as possible, and like this just seems completely different. And also I file it under the subgenre of Mark Ruffalo films where he's in his pants as well. So
does that come up on Netflix?
Yeah, it does. It does in my special folder. 5.
Ew. Engagement score, first time was a 5. Subsequently, because I knew where it was going, it didn't grab me at the end. And there were some points where I just kind of thought Jake Gyllenhaal was being a bit of a dick, like when he visited that lady in prison, and his name was Rick. I was like, no, it wasn't. It's like, why are you trying to force feed her a name? You're trying to find out, aren't you? But I did what I forgot the first time and enjoyed this time, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it in subsequent viewings. Is the cast is actually quite wide and varied. Like Elias Koteas, your man who played
Casey Jones.
Yeah, Casey Jones.
Total for life, total power.
Exactly. Total power to you, Archie. But John Carroll Lynch, Philip Baker Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
His first of 2 Zodiac films.
And who's the other guy? Sorry, he played in Manhunter.
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. There you go.
Brian Cox.
But there's lots of other people in. I think the cast is quite deep. The surface cast is quite deep. So yeah, but 3.5, and that gives us an overall score of 4.49.
It's pretty high.
Wow,
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive. It looked like you just worked it off the top of your head, but I know
I did,
the
yeah.
spreadsheet right there. Yeah. Oh.
Math podcast over
So
here.
good at the spreadsheets.
Should we head to Twitter? I think we had a message for this. Do follow us, guys, on Twitter. We are at FlixWatcherPod, and it's great to follow us because, as well as telling you guys when the next episode comes out, we also do a little tweet in advance of recording, so you can take part as well. And we had a tweet or 2 in this case. Helen.
Yeah, so this is from Phil Trangan Photo. I often show people this film as they've never heard of it. Documentary levels of murky crime detail and social commentary mixed with sharp character development from a seriously sympathetic cast. I think it's Fincher's most underrated film, and he gives that 4.5 stars.
So that kind of tallies in with exactly what we've talked about today and Flixwatcher scores.
So we were right.
Jonathan and Phil, can you tell us where we can find you online and say sayonara to all the listeners?
Yeah, you can find me personally at Tall4All, TAL, the number 4ALL on Twitter, Instagram, and I have a band on Facebook. And collectively we are the Pod Charles Cinecas, the PCC podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And we've started another little thing called Breadcrumbs, the Breadcrumbs Collective, which is a silly little, well, one, it's a family of podcasts. So we've got our own, the Pod Charles Cinecas. We've got our new little podcast called the Breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs is just like an anti-podcast. It's the weirdest thing you'll ever listen to, but it's weird
amazing.
Stories. It's goofy editing. It's just to the punch, and it's all like 30-minute episodes. So if you like weird, goofy stories, real stories, fake ads, just madness, then you can find us there. So that's at Breadcrumbs Pod, and we're going to do a lot of new podcasts as well, myself and Phil and other people that are part of the Breadcrumbs Collective.
Breadcrumbs Collective, love it. Phil?
You can find me at FarawayNad on Twitter and in real life. You can hear me talking shit on the Pod Charles Cinecas and the Breadcrumb Pod, which, like Jonathan said, in the nicest way, the anti-podcast. We have so much fun on that. Please join us on those shows. I don't have really much else going on outside of the podcast beyond, balling up on the couch at home. Just watching movies.
Constant ball. This boy, he's always in a ball.
Always in a ball. But thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And to all your listeners who come to the Prince Charles Cinema, thanks for coming out and enjoying us.
We talk about you guys all the time, so hopefully that's infiltrated their incepted their minds. Go, go, go.
Thanks so much for coming
on. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.